Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to QuickBooks Labs. QuickBooks Labs is a fortnightly podcast designed to be the place to learn all about the world of QuickBooks and other accounting software. Every 2 weeks, we hang around these microphones to talk about all the latest news, tips, and tricks for QuickBooks. And I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Patrick, a chartered accountant, the owner of an accounting firm called Boffix, a QuickBooks certified trainer with a fancy new logo around here somewhere, and also that QuickBooks chap on the internet. Join me, as always, is my co-host, Ash. How's it going, Ash?
All good. Fantastic. Thanks, Aaron. Enjoying the sunshine. Well, not quite, but I'm inside. But I'm enjoying the fact that it's there. Yes, me, Ash Beatson, bookkeeper, accountant, app developer, founder of NetTracker, making fixed assets easy. And before I forget, we also are joined by Johan Gorey, accountant from Scotland. Should we bring Johan in? He can sort of say a quick hello and introduce himself.
Hello.
Hi, Johan.
Am I there? Yep. Hi, guys. My name's Johan. I am the managing director of On Point Accounting Group. We look after several accounting brands throughout the UK.
Cheers, Johan. So back over to you, Aaron.
Perfect. So we have a cracker installed for you today. First of all, let's figure out how all this works. So we are live to the nation at the regular time of 4:30 UK time, usually every other Tuesday, which is around about 10:30 US Central Time. Although, has that moved now? We've changed time? Have we?
I think it might be 9:30 in the US.
9:30 now.
Okay.
Daylight saving, all that, just playing with our mind. So if you're listening to this back at a late time, why not think about joining us live? That way we can get involved with the show and ask us anything using the chat box. We've got some people in already. So, yep, hopefully they'll enjoy the show as well. So why not, if you've got the opportunity to come and join us live to ask those burning questions, we'll make sure there's a Q&A section at the end. Furthermore, we're now live on podcast services around the globe. So feel free to subscribe to the podcast service of your choice. Ash, what's our agenda for today's show?
So, Aaron, we've got a little bit of news that you'll take us through. So, a couple of little changes with OneSas, a little bit on the mobile app, and then we've got a bit of, interesting discussion topics, I suppose we can call it. We'll look at, dealing with messy QuickBooks files. It might come with a mess. What do? Do you scrap the whole lot? Do you look at tidying it up? And then, we'll talk about the assets, end of March. So we'll be thinking about doing our tax returns, hopefully for next month. Maybe some of us might be doing it next month. Some of us might be doing next January. But let's think positive and try and get them done nice and early. So we'll think about, what we're going to start tidying up and reviewing.
Sounds good to me, Ash. Sounds good to me. Okay, then let's start with one of my first news topics for today. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Where's the share screen? There we are. Okay, so on the topic of this one is all about a little company that we've been talking about quite a lot, and that's OneSas. So OneSas is a integration platform for many different e-commerce options out there. And we spoke about it on the show. I want to say we've definitely spoken about it more than once, but I want to say on the last 3 or 4 shows, we've brought this as a topic conversation. And the idea of OneSas is really straightforward. If you've got a client or if you're using QuickBooks and you're using something like eBay or Shopify, and we'll go through the other options in a minute. But if you're using one of those particular solutions, then the whole idea of this is it connects it together. So that can be really useful for clients who are maybe a little bit struggling in the concept of how to record, say, their eBay sales. Because one of the big problems with your eBay sales, as an example, is that you will receive that money net of all fees and everything else that goes with it. The idea of OneSas is to make it so that you are actually bringing in the gross amount, and then it means you can actually make sure that that information is coming in correctly. It's a really cool piece of software. It's one I've done quite a few videos on now and trying to promote the use of it and how it uses and everything else. But there's been a big change in the way that it's priced going forward. So we've actually, for people who don't know, if you go to apps.com, that's the place where we go in and we can find our little app store related to QuickBooks. Some great apps on here. If I do a little search here, one of the probably best apps on the marketplace. This one here, Net Tracker. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but definitely an app to look into. 5 out of 4.9 now is the rating there. So a wonderful piece of software. But included in there is also the OneSas integrations. And if you look here, we've got Shopify by OneSas. If you're already using Shopify, this is a great little integration. WooCommerce by OneSas, eBay, BigCommerce, Squarespace, FreshBooks. So I'm still confused why FreshBooks is there, but it's still there. Magneto, OpenCart, Loyverse. Loyverse is a great piece of software if you've got anyone who's using a till system. Wix, Etsy, and so on and so forth. In fact, if you press load more, there's a couple more in there as well, including Salesforce. And as we've already said, Intuit have acquired OneSas, so we were expecting some big things between how they've come. No, I don't think anyone actually believed it would come this good, though, because if I click in any of these OneSas ones and I look at the pricing now, we have a brand new price point of free. And that is pretty much a game changer in the way that we've been promoting these apps before. So, gentlemen, any comments you got on that one? What do you think to that?
Over to you first, Johan.
As you said, Aaron, it's a game changer. We had a client who has a Shopify business, and they had thousands of transactions a month going through Shopify, and it was costing us an arm and a leg in softwares that weren't always that reliable to import into QuickBooks. So to have this as a free option is absolutely fantastic. And because it's such a integrated part, OneSas and QuickBooks working so closely together, the automation's just better than anything I've seen elsewhere on the market, and we don't have to pay for it. So everyone's happy.
It certainly is. Ash?
Yeah, well, obviously it's a no-brainer, isn't it? I mean, I'm going to have to sort of look into it a bit more. I mean, I don't have any clients these days as such that need it, but I'm thinking about my own requirements. If we sort of change some of the way that we receive payments and then log them into QuickBooks, I'm definitely going to investigate a little bit more to see exactly what it is I can do and what I can get out of it. If it's a free piece of software, I've got nothing to lose apart from just investing a bit of time. And any app, we all know that any app you need to put a little bit of effort into learning how to use it. But when it's free, just put a couple of hours aside, and you can save a huge amount of time, can't you?
Definitely. I mean, it is really user friendly as well. I think that's one of the good things about it. There's the one thing we've had a lot of is different people have tried the integration space, and there are still ones out there that are recommended for certain situations. For Amazon, for example, there's a particular software I would still probably push them down, and there's little bits where if you know the space and you know that area, then you're still going to probably promote some form of software, even though it might be not that wonderful free mode, but because it's you'll get the value out of paying X amount for whatever it's going to be. But what I think is the good thing about them choosing OneSas is just how straightforward it is to get it all set up. It just works. Like John said, it just works. It just literally, you get your eBay, as an example, you get your eBay credentials, you get yourself logged in, and then it kind of talks you through it. And what I do like as well is it kind of brings up this really complex dashboard in front of you when you first look in there. It does look a little bit overwhelming, but it says in big bold letters that 80% of the time you can just leave this alone and you'll be absolutely fine. But bear in mind that if you need anything else out of it, if there's something you want to tweak, whatever it's going to be, the option's there for you to play with. And I think what we've started to using this for is we can really now hone in on like bundles of software that we can really push together. And because it's free, it means that people are going to be more likely to want to do that. We've always had this dream where we can sell this particular bundle of software for a certain type of client, but then you've got to kind of have that buy-in with them that they've got to pay not only for QuickBooks but for this software, for that software, and everything else. Now you've got that. So yeah, it's brilliant. And yeah, as John said as well, like that whole idea of it being integrated with QuickBooks means it's got that tight integration. It's only going to be the start of it. So there's still bits I think can be improved on. So there's a few more integrations I'd like to see. But yeah, it's a great bit of thing. Anything from anyone else?
Kind of opens up the market again, because as a firm, we actively avoided e-commerce after that one client because we just knew how much time and labor was required to sense check all the data, the cost of the integration. So a lot of e-commerce like to run on a shoestring. So telling them, oh, and by the way, it's an extra 60 quid a month to get your software to talk to QuickBooks, it just was a non-starter. So we actively avoided that industry as a provider for accounting services. But with OneSas, we're now looking at it again.
Exactly. Yeah.
It makes total sense, and I completely agree. When I've looked at it before, with other people, you could easily spend a lot of money each month, and then it just puts people off. So
I've also heard that rumblings from the Xero side that their connections are going to be cancelled soon, and they're going to have to move on to find another solution. So that's a big bit that's came out of the blue. I was not expecting that. I'd expect them like maybe increase the fee or something and make it uber competitive to be on QuickBooks, but ending support completely is a crazy one. But yeah, that's what they're going for. Imagine Autoentry did the same.
End the support, or they're going to rename OneSas like they did T-Sheets.
Oh, do you reckon that's what it's going to be?
Because you've got QuickBooks Time now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Which is still available on the Xero market for apps.
Ah, okay, that's sneaky. Oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah.
Do you take QuickBooks Time and plug it into Xero, or do you think, well, it's probably going to talk better to QuickBooks?
Yeah, which is probably because they did the same. I don't know if you know about TradeGecko, but they did the same there as well. So they've changed that one. So yeah, that's probably it. That's clever marketing, isn't it? When you think about it. What can I say?
Yeah. How do you get onto your competitor's marketplace? Buy it all and rebrand it.
Yeah, I mean, if they want a, if they need a net tracking solution, fixed asset solution, they want to rebrand it. I'm sure Ash is ready to have that conversation with them.
Yeah, I think I am ready.
QuickBooks Assets. That could work quite well. Yeah, and then one last thing on the OneSas bit as well is what we found as well is it's kind of opening up our minds into how we run our practice. So we're starting to think about certain integrations that could work actually quite well for our practice. And then when you start having those ideas, it's something that you can kind of pass on to clients and have that sort of idea as well. So it definitely it's been a big one, and I'm really looking forward to it. They've not got the VAT side 100% right yet, but I don't think it's really their space for it, is it? It's more really with the kind of payment solution should be getting that right, but we'll figure that one out as we go along. All right, next bit of news then. Really straightforward, this news actually, and let me just move and put the screen over here. But the mobile app for QuickBooks Online has had a bit of an update, and actually quite a significant one. So aesthetically, it looks very different to what it did before. And so I'm just going to quickly share the screen. There we are. Oh, you can't see that, can you? Why can't you see that? There we are. There we are. Cool. All right. So I'm just going to jump into the QuickBooks app itself, and from the QuickBooks app. Just giving it away. That's it. Should have just looked at for So first of all, aesthetically, there's a little bit of a change here at the top. Instead of having the plus button, the plus button's disappeared. And I don't know if you've noticed in app as well, but in the browser, it's kind of moving around the plus button again. So the new button's now appeared in the top right-hand corner sometimes. So I don't know if that's intentional or not, but that's a different topic for a different day. But now we've got these little elements here. So it's all about having kind of like a quick bar, if you like. So you can go in, you can press whatever transaction you want. Snap receipt's still there. They're all exactly the same as you did having the plus button. But instead of having the plus button, you've now got this. Cash flows looks a little bit different. Not sure I quite like that as much. I prefer the line. I thought the line worked or was easier to understand, definitely from a client's point of view. But the big change is all about Snap Receipt. So anyone who's not aware of Snap Receipt, I'll just quickly get a receipt out to show you. But if I had that receipt to bring into QuickBooks, for me to get that receipt in, I'd probably have to type it all out, but not if I use Snap Receipt. All I need to do is literally press Snap Receipt itself. Photo comes up. I take a photo of it. And even a poor receipt like this one, where like the £9.73 for the VAT, and the dates kind of skewed and all that sort of stuff, even a poor receipt like this one gets read by QuickBooks itself and brought the data in. Now, before, what happened is you press this, use this photo, and it would just then do its magic, but you wouldn't be able to do anything else in app. You'd have to go back to the browser, and in the browser, you would then have to be able to do the work from there. Now, though, we have the opportunity to do it all from here. So I've got a bit of an example here. Is another one I've put through, but here's a Virgin Media business transaction. I can click on it. I can see the transactions going in there, but I can actually see what's going on and get more information from here. You can see what's already been reviewed as well. So you can go through and see if you've already taken that photo. So example there, I could go, yeah, I probably already included that one in. So that looks from now. So it's basically giving you an opportunity to see, more functionality about the receipts capturing. You can see which ones now are being captured. So at the moment, they're going through and they're doing that receipt that I've just looked at. It's not quite ready yet, but at least I can now see that that's been processed and that's going through. So, if you've got a whole pile of receipts to go through, you're going to have more of an indication if you've done that particular receipt or not. And they're just adding functionality in here, and I think it is actually a really good thing that that's coming into the mobile app as well, because I'm sure, Joanne, I'm sure you got the same, where we've got clients where they only ever use the mobile app now. They don't go into any other piece of software. They don't log into the browser like we would do. So the more functionality they can have in there, the better. What do you guys think to that one?
Yeah, I mean, that is handy if you've whacked a couple of receipts on and you can't remember whether you've put it on or not, and you can just quickly look back. I take it we can't actually edit the details on there, can we? We've still got to go into the browser and...
Yeah, it's weird because I was able to, I think it was yesterday or something. So it looks like it's one of those where they've pulled that for now, but I definitely can see that's going to be next online in terms of it. It's already extracted the amount, so £4.80, 80p, second the fourth. So it's extracted that data. You can see that data's in there. You just can't do anything with it yet, if you like.
Yeah.
And it's, as you say, it's the fact that it's in the app is just key. Because how many business owners sit in front of their computers all day?
Yeah.
Most nowadays are out and about, and they want to be doing it as they go to keep on top of it. There's someone posted on the QuickBooks community group the other day that how often do people do their bookkeeping? It's like, well, everyone does it on the go using the app. Just get into the habit of it. The amount of times I buy a train ticket. Not that we're allowed out anymore, but I used to buy a train ticket, put it in the ticket barrier, get swallowed, and it's like, oh, I've not got the receipt for that. So yeah, it's really important to have as much functionality for day-to-day business use on your app. And also it encourages us to discourage our clients from going in and where all the journal tools and all that are. We don't want them breaking anything and playing with anything. Just focus on the app, and they can do everything they need to do in the app.
Yeah, definitely.
And that new layout, that new bar along the top, I think that's so much clearer than just having a menu hidden away.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing, isn't it? Where sometimes you forget that there's certain functionality yourself, and actually having it laid out is there, isn't it? And we've started using that upload feature as well. It's just, we love it just as a way of clients telling us there's something we need to know. So, we've told them if a HMRC letter comes in, just take a photo of it using, because they've got the app out anyway. They're already using it. Instead of having to drum up an email and put the email address in and send it to us that way, they just take a photo of it, and we can see it at our end. So it's got a lot of good possibilities, and we'll talk about it later. But this whole idea about the bank and how that could integrate well, it's a perfect solution, isn't it? You give it to your employees, they go out, they're on the train, like you were saying, on the train or whatever it's going to be. You can have that interaction, have it all there under one. So, yeah, no, it's good. It's good, and it's good to see the app is getting some real good updates lately. It seems to be getting from strength to strength, which is good.
Yeah, definitely.
Apart from the people screaming, "We want CIS in there."
That and mileage for everyone as well.
Yeah.
Why is it only the primary user? Or master admin, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, mileage for everyone. Yeah, and the construction stuff for some of the subbies would be useful.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we should start some sort of plaque or something. We'll have it in the back of the screen or something. Mileage for everyone.
Petition.
I think mileage, it can't be far behind now, because with QuickBooks Time, it already tracks your GPS. So if you've got your employees using the time tracker on QuickBooks App or QuickBooks Time, it makes sense to have the mileage available for them to track as well.
Yeah, we were promised it, weren't we? Was it summer update? I think it was there, and we're almost a year now. So yeah, it's coming. It's just when, where, and how. So yeah, because ideally we want it to actually interact with QuickBooks as well. That'd be really nice, wouldn't it? The mileage, not just a
bit of ledger posting. That'd be nice. Yeah.
we can all but dream. We can all but dream. Ash, what else do you want to talk about?
All right. Okay. So let's talk about sorting out a messy QuickBooks file. I suppose it could be QuickBooks file. It could be any file, really, couldn't it? It could be any sort of software. So let's just ask among ourselves. So I'll ask you first, Johan. So let's say a client's come to you, and they've been using QuickBooks for maybe 6 months or a year, and you look at it and it is a bit of a mess. What do you do? Do you try to fix it, or do you think, no, let's just scrap the whole thing and start from fresh?
This is an interesting question. So 3 years ago, someone came to me and said, "Can I get a QuickBooks license from you?" Yeah, no problems. Oh, my accountant, I've got a family accountant, we can't move. But I want to use QuickBooks because I want to send my invoices and stuff from that, and I want to do my bank fees. So, fine, I'm not going to judge you. At least you're on some cloud technology. That's great. Well, he came to me this week saying, "I want to use the cash flow tool in QuickBooks. How much of a job is it to catch up with QuickBooks?" So I'll have a look, see how far behind you are. Yeah, he's not matched a bank transaction since 2018.
Yeah.
So because it's just been a tool for him to invoice from.
Yeah.
But now he's suddenly realised that he's going to have to get the banks all sorted out, everything. So we're now having that discussion of, you can either pay and we can sit there and do it all for you, but it's a huge job, or we might be better off giving you a blank license and starting again. And I think it's just a two-way conversation with every individual client as to where's the value. Do you want to have all that invoice tracking history and stuff that's in there? And that's so valuable to you that actually paying for someone to sit there and go through 3 years worth of bank transactions is worth it? Or is there not enough value in your records to think, actually, I'll just start again?
Yeah. Okay. So before I'll come to you next then, Aaron. So what do you reckon? What have you had? What's your experience on this?
I think I'm too tight, if I'm honest, to ever start again. So I always spend that time and I just go through going, there must be a way we can salvage this. Because I just think back to how much either we've paid for the subscription or the client's paid for the subscription, or whoever's paid for the subscription up to that date. I'm always thinking to myself, there must be some value left in that. But, they've got to get something out of it. And I'm always looking at ways to try and clean it up, try and do it. And for me, I just draw a line in the sand and just go, right, when was the last statutory set of accounts done, for example? Right, there's your opening balances. What can we salvage from there and see if we can go from there? But yeah, that's always been my mentality. But I definitely see it, and I think it's because I can kind of, in my mind, I know that if I've gone to a line and I've gone to an opening balance or whatever it's going to be, I don't care what's before that date. I in my mind I can deal with it. But I know a lot of people, they see that mess behind. They can't not see it, can they? They're fixated on it. They're fixated on that mess, and then move on from there. So, Ash, what would you do then? What's your pro tip?
To come to yours and out. So I can sort of see both sides there. So if someone's just used for nothing else than an invoicing tool, then maybe I might scrap it if they've not done anything and not used any banking. But actually, then coming back to more. Probably on, think about it, more on Aaron's wavelength, because even if they have just used it as an invoicing tool and they've got, they could have 6,000 unpaid invoices from 3 years because they've never put anything in. I would probably, do some exports, and then, create things like a code, so I could then import them back as credit notes, and just mark them all as paid. Turn on automatic apply credits, so that, okay, their bank history is going to be pants, and they've got no payments or expense costs in there, but at least all their custom history is up to date. Yeah. And then you're just left with, what your unpaid customers are. And then, like you said, Aaron, I'd just draw a line under the sand, in the sand, to say, okay, well, from this day, your last accountant has done some set of accounts. We'll take that as your starting point and stick some journals in and bring everything up to date. So that's the reason why this sort of conversation came about. We had a message. I won't mention any names. Literally wanted to move one QuickBooks Online file to another QuickBooks Online file. Originally, I thought it's because there was a bit of a mess, but I think this was just a bit of a time saving or cost saving exercise, because I wanted to move it from an accountant that was paying X amount of subscription to someone else's. So, that isn't, I don't think that's in really, well, it's slightly unethical in my head, because I like to think of, well, okay, I know you sort of, I know Intuit are, worth billions, so they're not going to miss it. But if people did it for every subscription, then all of a sudden, accountants won't get offered these new crazy deals.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be for your new clients or new users. So that's my little take on that. But so, would you ever try to? I'm not going to ask you whether you try to move one subscription to another, but in some instances, I have heard, I've seen on little forums where an ex-accountant has refused point blank to move that subscription across to the new accountant. Have you ever come across that?
Really?
Yeah.
What? Because they want to retain, do you reckon, their original price point and reuse that?
Possibly, or they're just that. Well, I think the conversation I saw once was that they'd spent so long setting it up and getting it nice, they didn't want to pass it to anyone else. Basically, that's what it was.
I think part of it as well is old school accounting mindset of, like, Sage, the accountant owed the license.
Yeah.
In my mind, the customer, the business, that the client owns the QuickBooks license. They might be paying me to pay QuickBooks.
Yeah.
But if you go to QuickBooks will be quite happy to tell you that that license belongs to the end user, not to the accountant, even if it's on one of the accountant's batch pricing deals. So yeah, I'm fairly sure it's in the T's and C's at QuickBooks that it belongs to the client.
Yeah, I've always thought that, so I'm glad we're sort of on the same wavelength there.
And let's be honest, it should be as well, shouldn't it? It's the client's data. Like, we shouldn't have any power to say you're not allowed it or anything. It shouldn't be like that.
Not when the system's built to be so exchangeable.
Yeah.
Like, with Sage, it used to be, it's built in, you can't just transfer, you need to download your backup and move your backup and data and stuff. Whereas QuickBooks, Xero, Free Agent, they're all now so interchangeable that we as accountants should be facilitating that move.
Definitely.
Cool. So while we're on the subject then of like tidying up a mess. Yeah. So if I can share my screen.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can show an image of your office then.
This is how to keep a clean office.
That's great. There we go. Screen 2.
There it is. Awesome.
All right. Okay, cool. Now, I don't think I'm giving anything away here. Sometimes I used to wonder whether I should, give out these sort of little secrets. Now, if this was a file, this is a file actually, which is less than 3 months old. So if you do have a client that's made a bit of a hash of it in the first couple of months, then we can scrap and start again. So for anyone, I don't know whether you knew this, Johan, or I'm sure you probably did, maybe did. But for anyone that's listening or that's watching, so in the top there, where we've got our address bar, we've got app and then a // I'm going to put in there the word purge company and then press return. So if a file is less than 3 months old, we should see, it'll come up in a minute, a little message that basically tells us that if I type in the word yes at the bottom right hand corner, I think it will come up, that I can literally scrap everything that's ever been put in this file and I'll lose, it's irreversible. So if it's, this was, I'll get 3 months, 90 days to do this. So I've still got, a few days left in which I can sort of do, carry on. And down the bottom, if I type in the word yes, any data that was put in there prior to today, lost, scrapped. So it can be useful for, those that have literally cocked everything up, put all the, connected about 5 different banks and then put all the entries in the wrong way around, and it's just a complete nightmare. And a couple of little tips on that. If you were to do that, so obviously if you do delete it, you're going to lose all of it, any of your customer invoices that you're going to put in. So maybe if you wanted to keep some of that info, download some reports into Excel for your customer invoices, and then once you've scrapped this, put your settings back in place, and you'll be able to re-import them using the tools that are in QuickBooks. Some quite simple things in there to do. So I thought I'd just mention that. Have you ever used that, Johan, that tool?
Yeah, we used it once or twice, but you're right. The import and export tool make this so much more powerful. So we literally export the bits of data we want, like customer data, as you say, invoice data, the stuff that they've probably not messed up. If you export that, do your purge, and then re-import that bit after doing your settings, and then reconnect your bank accounts, and your bank accounts go back 3 months with most of your banks. Yeah. You're starting from square one with a slight advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I've used it before. I think the only thing that gets me is that 90-day thing. There's a lot of us accountants, we've got licenses that could be 2 years old before someone uses it, sort of idea. So yeah, I wonder what that 90-day reason is. I wonder if it's like to stop. I'm trying to think if there's any way that I assume it's so people don't just purge a license and then reuse that license. I suppose I don't know, but yeah, it's that. Over that 90 days, it's a great piece of tool. I think it works really well.
Yeah, I've not needed to do this for a little while, but I have done it a few times. Just actually, even on brand new files where I've got nothing in, because I want to take all the chart of accounts out. I don't want any default chart of accounts. Because if you do this, you get another option that basically tells you, do you want to keep this sort of default setting, or do you want to take the whole lot out? Yeah. And then you're only left with about 3 or 4 chart of account codes, and then you can pop in your own. So that's
a great use for this would be if you have bought a bunch of licenses to then, because I don't know who decides what license you get, but you always get these really random like rental licenses and stuff or whatever they're going to be. So this could actually, thinking about this, is that solve that issue more than anything as well, or would be a good use of that, wouldn't it, to put it to a limited company license or however you're going to do it.
Yeah, and back to your point, Aaron, if you because I'm the same. We're all the same here. We've bought some licenses in the past. You bought them in bulk and they're sort of sitting there empty. So obviously you could have had them there a couple of years. If you just do phone into it to say that I've got that, can you sort of unlock it? They'll unlock it in the back end for you so that you can do this. They'll check it first and make sure you're not being naughty and just trying to cheat the system. I'm sure maybe. But I know I've got quite a lot of licenses that I've been just using for testing purposes, and really I want them all wiped, so I can start again. Now, one other thing that I want to pop in, let me just bring into into the App Store is, so again, I don't normally like to delete, messy files at all if I can help it. I'll use lots of different, tricks, whether it's just creating a contra account and marking all the supplier bills as paid, to a director's loan, all of the invoices, popping them, paid invoices through undeposited funds or whatever, just to clear it all off and then, draw a line in the sand. But if you do have a mixture of some of the stuff in there is good, some of it is just, a mess, but there could be a big mess. Don't forget we've got all of these, apps on apps.com, like Sasant, for the, which you can use for importing data, but you can also link and then delete your transactions in a bulk. So I know once I made the mistake once of using the import tool in QuickBooks to import a load of invoices, and they were all wrong. So I thought, oh no, what can I do? Well, I quickly got this app on, and then went in and said, all the invoices that were created between that date and that date, I just want them out.
Yeah.
And just a bulk delete cleans it all up. So these are great for if you've got things in there, just to again reverse some of the damage, keeping some of the good stuff. Have you used some of these, Aaron? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, especially Sasan. That's been the one I've used more than anything. In fact, thinking about it, it was that sort of idea where they'd connected their I forget what solution they were using, but e-commerce software to the wrong channel and all this, that, and the other, and suddenly all this data was coming in that was irrelevant and all this. So that's where I can see the benefit of it, isn't it? It's when maybe you're trialing an app for the first time and it's just gone horribly wrong on you.
What about you, Johan? Have you used any of these?
Yeah, I was a big fan of Sasant. I've probably not used it in the last year and a half, but I used the delete function a couple of times. But in the first 2 years of practice, we used it loads for importing data.
Yeah.
And then QuickBooks finally launched their import features, and it's like, oh, well, don't need to bother with that anymore then.
Yeah. Yeah, I did wonder whether, I don't know whether QuickBooks might have got something from Sasant in the background, because at one point I didn't know whether they were going to take them over, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they just bought some of their tools and brought them in house.
In fairness, that could have been me, because I started shouting out that they bought Sasant when I meant OneSas. So yeah. That might have been fake news.
Fake news, yeah, indeed.
It's a use case for Sasant because they can do like 10,000 line imports instead of the 2,000 limit in QuickBooks. So for the high volume transaction people, there is still a use case there for it.
Definitely. And it's so user friendly as well, isn't it? Getting that data in.
So user friendly and inexpensive.
Yeah, definitely.
Just on this, still sort of on this messy topic, or maybe transferring from one QuickBooks to another, which I don't really, condone. But if you did come across an accountant, and hopefully you don't, but I've seen it in forums that basically someone's refusing to pass the license across. There are some apps where you can actually, take a backup, apparently, of your QuickBooks Online file, although we don't need to. I've never felt the urge, but some people really like taking backups. I just put my faith in the cloud and pray for the best. But when I first started using QuickBooks, I had a client that they stuck on Sage. I couldn't get them off Sage, and I basically stopped working for them because of that. And I said everything, and they said, "Well, one of the questions was, well, what if there's a war and we can't get, when the server gets where the servers are held gets bombed. And I said, well, if that's the case, that's probably the least of my worries for accounting data. But I do remember when I first started working for QuickBooks, and those of us that, you know, the security is like as much as the banks, you know. So I sort of think of it, well, I trust that my bank has got my bank statement information correct, and it's held in a cloud.
Yeah.
So you've got to. I trust QuickBooks in the same way, but others, still love to take it back up. And from what I've seen on other forums, I think occasionally, and I'm not sure exactly how much data you get from some of these. So this is the most popular one, Rewind, although it's not got as many reviews as this other one. That you could, in theory, take it back up and then create a brand new QuickBooks Online file and restore the data in there. I've never tried it. I don't know whether have you ever looked at any of these, Aaron, Johan?
See, I've never had a need to do it, but I always just use the backup or the backup feature in QuickBooks, and just that's all I've ever used. So yeah, I can definitely see why people would want a more robust solution, because you do have to use a bit of, you're gonna have to manually import that data back in. It's not just a click of the button and it's restored, is it? But yeah, personally, I just use the backup feature built directly in QuickBooks, and yeah, move on from there. About you, Jan?
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I've never seen a need for backing up cloud software, but I see a lot of accountants that still like a backup because that's how they used to do it.
Yeah,
it seems to be quite a big thing for backup providers in American podcasts. Do a lot of sponsoring of American podcasts for accountants.
Okay.
And they very much take it from the angle of, we back it up every night. So if your staff member comes in tomorrow and messes it up completely, rather than trying to unpick their mess, you can just hit the rewind button, as it were, and go back to, so you're just losing a day's work. It's like, if a staff member makes that much of a mess, you've got a bigger problem.
Yeah, exactly right. What have the clients have been playing with?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anyway, yeah, so that's my sort of little bit there on, dealing with messes, if you like. Should we talk a little bit about year end?
Yeah, because we never got around to talk about it, did we? So I'm just going to quickly share screen and bring this one up. So it's a feature that's come into QuickBooks relatively, relatively recently. So I'm just loading it now. Ooh, something like that. I'm in that. Oh, it's because I'm in that American one, I think. Try it one more time. Yeah, so it's one that's come in relatively recently, and it's a great feature called Work Papers. So the idea of Work Papers is the idea that we've already been talking quite a lot extensively on here about this new month-end review. So the idea that we can go in and we can look at our data on a month-end option. We've just started to implement it in our practice now. We've just started to work it through to see if we can, build it into workflows and everything else. I really do stand by. I think it's going to be a great solution. I just think it's difficult to get yourself into that mindset of using it because we've already, I'm sure Jan is the same, you've already got your own systems and procedures in place, and it was trying to get the QuickBooks solution to work for it. But if I jump into this particular client, I've also taken it one step further, and I've started using the Work Papers. So the idea of Work Papers is basically taking it a step further. So month-end review is about getting confidence in your data, making sure you're happy with it, signing it off to say that I'm happy with all of these uncategorized transactions or changing them, whatever it's going to be. And it's about spotting errors and keeping it there. Work Papers, though, which is currently in your accounts tool, but we've been told by a very valuable source that it's going to be moved at some point. But the Work Papers is about that year-end procedure. So it's about saying that your year-end's completed, so very apt for the fact that we've got 6 days left or however long it is now of this personal tax year. But when that year-end procedure has been finished, you now have this Work Papers solution on here. Now, again, it's going to be a tricky sell because this, just to note as well, this is accountants only. Only accountants or QBO App people get access to this particular piece of solution. But the idea is that you then have an opportunity to build up what you think the year end's going to be. You get to compare them, and then you get to print off some, they're calling it grouping and statements, but we'll come to what that means in a moment. So the idea is that your first bit, and you see here, we've got these 3 sections over here. The first bit is all about trying to build up what the balance is. You believe that balance of the particular balances in your statements and your financial statements are going to be. So try and think of it like almost like a checklist. So that's how we've been utilizing it. So for example, proof of balance for the business bank, you'd want to click in there, see what the proof of balance is, or you can have a link, or you can download a logo, a document, or whatever it's going to be. And we've been using it as almost like a checklist. So we go through all of these different ones. I've got this particular one. So ordinary share capital, stock assets, fixed asset register and stuff like that. And then we would want to take a copy of something like the net tracker, wonderful report that comes from there. And we would want to put it into here as proof of what we believe that document, or what the balance should be, should I say, at the year end. Once that's happened, then all we need to do is we jump into the review and adjust. And the idea is that we've got supporting documents against what the figure was in 2019 and against what it was in 2020. And we're trying to compare the two. Now, we've already kind of given some feedback, and more feedback we can get, the better. What we'd love to see as a way of kind of giving a price or a value to this would be great. Our bank balance comes to £120,000, for example, and we can have a number there, and then we can see, do they agree, and everything else. And then the idea then is you've got almost like a checklist, so you can go through and checklist in them as you go down. What I like as well is when it comes to putting adjustments in, you'll see at the top here that there are adjustments that's been flown through. And because we've kind of locked this in place as when we were doing our working papers, then as we do adjusting entries, so as we do a journal entry, for example, and we include it as a adjusting entry just here, then they don't necessarily 100% appear on this document straight away. You have to accept those changes. So it's almost got that review process. So for example, you could have your junior going through, putting through the figures in there, making sure that you're happy with them. And then you could leave it to more senior member staff or whoever's reviewing the staff to go through and accept those changes and what amendments they've done and go through there. So it kind of puts a new spin on the way that you're creating it. And the idea is that this is supposed to be a place where you're going through and you're doing your normal year-end procedure, and you're kind of getting confidence in the numbers that are there, making sure they agree to what you expect them to agree, items like that. And at the very end, you have the option to have what's called grouping as statements. And the idea here is we can be a little bit more opportunist in how we're going to show things on our reports. So you can have a little bit more maybe of a statutory feel to them if you want to kind of have your statutory management accounts versus your statutory accounts, and maybe make it easier for you to compare them. And we're exploring the fact is this going to be good enough for things like charities and things like that? We don't know yet, but it could be the opportunity for us to go down kind of the more specialist niche reporting requirements there. And basically this is bringing in the data that's in there, and it gives us a chance to bring it through. And we've seen kind of like a report pack that can be run. So as I export it as an Excel, for example, and show you, we're not 100% got our heads around yet where this is going to be useful for. But if I quickly go through, where's that gone? Download. Oh, it's on the other side. That's what it is. Let me bring it over here. And then here, look, we have the ability to have kind of more of like a report pack together with notice to reader, balance sheet, income statement, and lead schedules and stuff like that. And there is actually an opportunity for you as well to download these working papers. So the tools up here, you can download as a zip, so you can bring it forward. So you've got like a way of keeping copy of that, so you can put into your working files or whatever it's going to be. And it's about, again, giving you that confidence that everything's going how it should be going, and you kind of get to a point of bringing it in there. And then in theory, if, like me, you've got the ability to connect your statutory accounts to your statutory account solution to QuickBooks, in theory, you could then be able to move that in there much more seamlessly. Less adjustments need to be made in your statutory ones, less need for opening balance journals, things like that. So that's that's how I feel working papers is going to be. It's kind of looking into the future and putting my tinfoil hat on, very much kind of coming to the point of Xero had a solution, so QuickBooks is obviously going to bring a solution out that compares to it, but also it very much looks like there's going to be some sort of, financial solution, accounting solution coming to QuickBooks in the not too distant future. What do you guys think to that one?
I'll let you go first, Johan.
I love this tool. I think it's the best tool they've launched in a long time.
Really?
I'll tell you how much I love this tool.
Go for it.
We export now trial balances from our Xero clients, import them onto a license on QuickBooks once a year, and do the working papers in QuickBooks.
Nice. That is a glowing endorsement.
That's how much we love this.
Yeah. That is a glowing endorsement, that one. Okay, love it.
So like we took on a client a year and a half ago now. She got someone to do a transition from Sage to Xero, and to say they made a hash of it would be an understatement.
Yeah.
We knew they had, but we couldn't bring ourselves to face doing the work. So we got them working on a day-to-day basis. Of the profit and loss is right. The balance sheet is a disgrace. Well, for the last couple of weeks, the guys have been working on it, but we imported it from the TB from Xero into QuickBooks. We're doing the working papers. We're getting evidence for each opening balance, each closing balance. So we've just got complete confidence that the set of accounts that we've just drafted today are spot on. Yeah. Regardless of the mess that was made from whoever did the transfer. Right. So yeah, I mean, we're actually moving 70% of our clients from Xero that are on Xero at the moment over to QuickBooks this month, because they're not fussed where they are, and we want this month-end tool and the working paper tool, because at the moment working papers are taking a bit of work because you're going through and you're adjusting stuff. But my theory is, if you're doing your month-end checks every month with the month-end tool in QuickBooks, your working papers should be a day, half a day, just sense checking and going through to make sure you're happy. You're attaching your evidence. And then, as you said, Aaron, it should be a 10-minute job in your accounts production software. Exactly. It should be an import, format, and stick it out on the e-sign.
Disclosures, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think I do love the solution. It just irks me a little bit in terms of there's so much more potential there. I think that's what I see, and I think I'm not like putting that to one side and just using what's there now, because like always, it's a great start, and I know there's going to be some iterations. I know it will get there eventually, like everything else. And I think that's it. And in my mind, I just wish there was a way of just being able to bring those documents in. But it is such a huge opportunity, though, for people to have that confidence in it, and have that ability to do it in thing. Because at the moment, prior to this, we used to just whatever, it didn't matter what QuickBooks was saying at that point, we would just export it in, use our own working papers tool, make as many adjustments as we need to, and then we knew we'd just do an opening balance at the end of it. So we'll get there eventually, but a long-winded and less productive way. This way, everything's all done in the solution, meaning that there's you pretty much should get away with no opening balance, shouldn't you? Which is ideal, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, well, I've not really looked at that, at the working papers or the month-end review much. I've not felt the need, but even with a company that I sort of help once a week as like their outsourced finance director, because I reconcile their balance sheet within an inch of its life every month, so I'm really sort of quite particular, and I have been for years, about reconciling every balance sheet account like a bank. So all of my accruals are fully reconciled, so I can run an unreconciled report against prepayments and accruals and everything else. And I'd already had my sort of year-end pack in a management report, which I sort of built. So it was already sort of there. I've not felt that I've needed to use that tool yet, but I will. I do keep meaning to take a look at it. But that's just I suppose that's just me a bit on that one.
And I think to that point, I think that's exactly where this is or it's going to find its benefit. Because, like, for me, if I pick up a client, especially a client I've known for a while, I could, I would never actually do it, but I could probably get away with not doing working papers for some of them because I know what the balance should be. I know what they've got to be. And I'm basically going through the motions of getting to that balance to get it there. But when you've got staff members, and especially junior staff members, just giving them that nudge to go, oi, have you reconciled this? Your bank might be reconciled, but what about that control account that we've got sat there? And what about that PayPal account, or whatever the client's issues have got? I think that's where this really comes into play. And it just gives that, for less experienced staff members, it gives them that confidence to go, oh yeah, I didn't check that. And of course I should check it. And actually it was wrong. And now it's right. And now I feel better about it, that sort of thing. So yeah, I can definitely see that that's coming in. What do you guys think then from a working papers point of view? What do you think kind of next steps would be in there, or how would you want it to be? And I know you've not used it yet too much, Ash, but is there anything you'd want to kind of see going forward with it?
I suppose it's difficult, isn't it? It's going to change. It's going to be very different between accountancy firm to accountancy firm. I think we've had this similar conversation before, where if you're, let's say, like I was, pretty much QuickBooks Online only, never used anything else, and that was the only thing I had. So if there was an inbuilt tool where I just did my tax and everything from that, then I'd probably use it. Whereas other firms, if you've got a mixture of Xero, QuickBooks, when it comes to doing the year-end stuff, and you've got lots of different staff, they want to use the same year-end tool, don't they? So it doesn't matter whether it comes from QuickBooks or Sage or Xero or FreshBooks or whatever, that data goes in, but you're using the one platform to actually do your year-end accounts. So I suppose it's really going to depend on whether people become, and I suppose that could be Intuit's goal. That's the QuickBooks only practice, because they're not going to use any other software. And I suppose that will vary depending on, on the individual, the team.
Yeah, well, it seems to have certainly worked on you, Jan, hasn't it? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, we're going to be. I should really promote or give the person whose idea it was a pay rise for the trial balance thing, because they literally said, well, we have to import the trial balance into our accounts production software.
Yeah.
So what's stopping us from importing the trial balance into QuickBooks, doing the working papers, and then your accounts and taxes from there once they've got the features?
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you've brought a load of cheap licenses, £2 a month, about 24 quid a year stopping you.
Yeah.
So for the efficiencies and the confidence that, like you, Aaron, was saying, that it gives your junior staff members the confidence they've gone through and checked it all.
Yeah.
That in turn gives us confidence as business owners and managers that they've checked it all. We can see that. They've not unchecked anything. They've not missed anything. We'll do some sense checking, but it gives us confidence in what's going on is right. For that confidence, I'll pay for a blank license to sit there for a year and just have a trial balance imported once a year, quite happily.
Yeah, no, it is really, really. I'm really impressed that you kind of said that, because I'm on the fence myself in terms of, do I want a accounting solution in QuickBooks? But I do see the massive benefit of things, and end of the day, it's going to happen. I mean, that's tax assist, not tax assist, TurboTax is obviously in America for a reason, and that's why they made most of their money, isn't it? So it's going to come at some point, but MTD and everything's going to change probably the plan that they had for it. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one going forward. So no, I like it, and I just hope that the working paper side of things has that kind of knock-on effect of how we look at it. It gives us more tools, because ultimately for me, I'd love some of the smart scan features to come into it, so there's more of an AI element to it, so that can check that data and have a look at it. That'd be great. But it's still a great start and a great thing from there. Cool. Any more on the working papers side of things?
I don't think so, Aaron. All good for me.
Cool, because I know we've just reached that hour mark, so let's think about the next steps on what we're going to do next. Although, actually, before we do that, I just want to bring, because it was an interesting conversation we were having just beforehand. I'm really liking what we're hearing about the banking side of things, so QuickBooks Bank. I know we feel like it's going to be a bit of a long-winded way off, and there's still some time to go on it and everything else. But has either of you kind of thought any further about how you think that's going to be implemented, or what use case you can see of it and everything else? It's definitely something that for me, it's one of those features that I'm more focused on than anything else. I can see quite a bit of element to it. John, you want to go first?
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, I was chatting to Modular, who are kind of powering this, about a different situation entirely. I was trying to find a bulk payment solution for a client. But if QuickBooks Banking is going to be along the lines of Starling, Revolt, those kind of features and abilities where you can set up a bank account within minutes, like we can already onboard a client onto QuickBooks within minutes.
Yeah.
Like, if we can onboard a client into QuickBooks within minutes and create them a bank account at the same time, and then they get the bank card through while we book them onto an onboarding session with QuickBooks for 90 minutes where they link everything together, it's a really smooth experience for your client.
It certainly is, yeah.
And yeah, I'm with you on this one, Aaron. The ability to have a QuickBooks bank account, providing it is a genuine bank account.
Yeah.
It's not one of these, it's within QuickBooks, you can only pay QuickBooks people with QuickBooks money.
Yeah.
Then I'm all up for it. I think it's going to be a fantastic feature. I think it's got lots of potential. Like I said the other week on the Messenger chat, does this lead to lending options from QuickBooks? Because we've got live, accurate data. We go to our lenders for our clients, and they're looking at data that's anywhere between 1 and 6 months to 12 months old.
Yeah.
For their accounts and stuff. QuickBooks can lend on behavior and patterns that they've got the data for. And if they've got a bank account, they can do the lending. I think there's a lot of benefit and automation for us as accountants, but I think there's a lot of support that can come from this, from QuickBooks, for small businesses to really thrive.
Yeah, and that's the important thing, isn't it? Because I know the data you're talking about there, the data that is in QuickBooks was used extensively for furlough and considerations and self-employed income support scheme considerations and all that sort of stuff. So the data is already doing what it's intended to do, isn't it? It's supporting clients, businesses, and everything else. And having that there, also for us as business advisors, as we've got to drop the term accountants going forward, haven't we? And it's that business, it gives us more of a role we can see ourselves as being beneficial and actually helping. Because it sounds great that one day we'll be business advisors as opposed to accountants, but that's only going to be helpful if we're actually helping clients and helping them go forward. But with stuff like this, it seems like we're going to have the option to do that. And I really like the idea of, especially at the beginning, it's less of a bank, a full bank that we're talking about, but more of an expense type scenario, expense card scenario. I think that's going to give us lots of opportunities to push it forward. What about you, Ash? Is it something you're going to be interested in at all, or what do you think?
I'm slightly on the fence with it, but I agree with Johan. Yeah, it has got to, from my point of view, and for the company I help, it has to be like a proper bank where I can pay any single supplier, any employee, and it will work well. As a bank that might sit in between another bank that I use. so they might have their main bank account, and then we'll just literally top it up now and again. So I've got a load of suppliers who want to pay, so I might just top it up with some money and then use it to pay all the suppliers. If it's going to do it, if it's going to do it automatically, then
Imagine the good habits it could form though for your clients. So your client uses a QuickBooks bank card in Cafe Nero or wherever. The moment I use my card, before the blooming card machines process the payment, Starling's telling me I've spent money. Imagine that's your QuickBooks app saying you've spent money, take a picture of the receipt.
Yeah.
Where's the receipt? Yeah. The good habits it could power are fantastic.
Yeah, and we've definitely been given some inkling that there's going to be some form of opportunity for agents to have some way of kind of helping clients along, so some sort of approval process or whatever it's going to be, and that opens up the door, like you said, about that whole good habits. But also we could encourage good habits of, well, your tax bill's looking like it's going to be XYZ, so let's save some money for you, because clients ask that all the time. It's just we can't do that for them now because we don't want to get involved in all that red tape of having to have all the different bank accounts and everything else. But if we could have a solution that works, there could open some really good opportunities there for you to help save clients that money for their taxes or whatever it's going to be, and at least give them
that QuickBooks video. It was a couple of years ago on QuickBooks Connect.
I know exactly which one you
mean. The Zoom feature built in, the yoga instructor struggling with her rent, the accountants within the day, they've had a Zoom chat, the accountants had a look at the figures, they've looked at the data, they've managed to get a mortgage based on that data. And within 24 hours of the problem arising, the business advisor, as we should call them, has gone with QuickBooks through communication, all in one place, and actually found this huge saving of costs because they're going to have a mortgage instead of a rent.
Yeah.
And it's another step in that direction towards that end feature, where it's an all-in-one solution. And I know there's a lot of accountants out there that are Xero only or Sage only or free agent, whatever.
Yeah.
We are working towards a QuickBooks only solution because we can see the future that QuickBooks is looking at delivering. But even then, I think there's enough features there for you to be able to communicate with all your clients, regardless of their accounting software.
Yeah.
So, but you will have a smoother and better experience if you're a QuickBooks only provider, which is what they're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. But it'll become a point where clients are going to have some form of solution, and I think, like you said, if they've got all of that future proof in there, then they're going to gravitate towards that, aren't they? So yeah, I think we'll be having less and less conversations like that going forward, because I think there's only going to be a couple of people who are going to win that race, especially when MTD comes out. It's going to be, which one are you on? Okay, which accountants suit you best then, basically, isn't it? So yeah, or business advisors, should we say, at that point. Cool, brilliant, awesome. I think that worked really well. Ash, I know I'm going to throw this at you because we didn't discuss it before, but when's the next one on, Ash?
Well, actually, we may have to postpone it a week, because I'll just check my diary for which would normally be the 13th of April, and I'm running a lot more payroll webinars on that day, and also the advanced certification pretty much that week. So I think that if so it might be 3 weeks to the 20th of April. Looks good.
That's good to me.
For us, so we could have to miss a week. Just actually before, I'm just going to go off on a little tangent. I know we're running out of time, but when you was talking about using Xero, or you got a client on Xero and popping information in Sage, I just wondered, does Xero connect to Zapier and QuickBooks connect to Zapier? Because I'm just thinking, if some of the clients using Xero and you set up some tools that said every time things go into Xero, zap it into QuickBooks.
I think that's a good one.
How much that would cost on the Zapier app, but just something to think about then.
It definitely is, because I'm really confused. We kind of glazed over it, but in OneSas there's that connection to FreshBooks, and that's confused me. I can't get my head around why or what that solution is. I just haven't found that scenario yet where that works, and that would be a really good solution. So maybe they should build the one for Xero, and then that's it. You sorted then, and you just let them go.
I just sit on the QuickBooks and it'd be fine.
Exactly. That could solve everyone's issue. So yeah, maybe you should push for that, for a Xero integration, see what happens. I wonder how Xero would appreciate that on their app store. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, they let QuickBooks time, like you said, so possibly open
For now.
Brilliant. I know we've had a couple of questions, but we're already over time, so apologies for that one. We'll keep a note of them and we'll bring them into the next one. Again, if you listen on that podcast, though, don't forget to follow us on Facebook. That's always the best way of being able to see us live. And also, we've got our individual YouTube channels as well, where you can see on there. So, Johan, has you got anything you want to kind of talk about or promote or anything that's coming up? This is your opportunity to push anything. You've got any social plans or anything? I don't know.
No, I am on QuickBooks Ask the Expert on Thursday morning, though. So
that is the one. That's it. Yeah, I'll definitely be there. How are you finding the Ask the Expert series?
Yeah, it's good. It's now we've got past the whole government constantly changing the rules around it, of what and having to talk about the same thing every week. It's nice to have a bit of diversity in there, and yeah, I'm enjoying it.
It is good, isn't it? Yeah, I'll always remember that time when literally the next day I was on, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm learning what furlough means myself, so suddenly I've got to go and ask the expert and explain it to everyone. But no, it's brilliant platform. Ash, have you got anything coming up? Any YouTube videos you want to promote or push or anything like that?
I've not got any planned for this week. I've put a couple on there for last week, so you can check out the QuickBooks tips in 60 seconds. Literally takes you 60 seconds to watch a video. So there's a few on there.
Is there any coming up? Any exciting ones?
Well, the one I put on last week or the beginning of this week was quite a handy one if you're using the send later, because not everyone realises that send later button when you do an invoice.
Good point. Yeah.
And actually, ticking that box, and then someone else might check the invoices, and then send them all later in a batch. That
makes sense. Yeah, no, it is a good little feature, that one. Yeah, that's something we use regularly on ours. So, yeah, and I'm hoping soon to bring in the accounting manager integration properly. So I've been talking with them to see if I can get some bit of insight of when that's coming live. So I'm looking forward to playing around with that one. Do you use it, Johan, accounting manager? Yeah.
Use it, love it. Been nagging them for that. The new workflow update, which I've seen a preview of, it looks fantastic. And the Zapier link.
Yeah, that brings up so many options, doesn't it, for us? Yeah. And my other big one is Go Proposal. I don't use Go Proposal yet, but I know they have a Go Cardless integration, and we run off Go Cardless. So if I can get my client to be able to sign up and give Go Cardless and accept the proposal and all that lot all in one file suite.
We use Practice Ignition, because that's already got Zapier. The moment someone signs up, they automatically get a receipt bank account set up.
Okay.
The billing data is dealt with by Practice Ignition. It's halved our onboarding process. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We could probably reduce it another 30 or 40% worth of workload once Accountancy Manager talks to Zapier. So, yeah.
So it was you that kept dagging them all the time, then, was it? I know someone was. I couldn't figure out who else it was. Brilliant. Awesome. Yeah, that's going to be something. We're going to have to do one of these days. We're going to have to do an accounting manager special on here as well, because I did promise them one day. So we'll make sure we'll let you know on that one. Okay, so I think that's it then. Is that everything, Ash? Nothing else we need to cover, was there?
Yeah, that's all down from me.
And that's everything from me. So thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you, Johan, for coming on. You've been excellent as always. Can't wait to have you on again, if you'll come again, that is, of course.
Thank you very much. Always a privilege.
Cheers. Thank you very much. And with that, we're going to play out our outro, and we will see you in 3 weeks' time. And I'm sure we'll have some wonderful news to talk about with QuickBooks. I'm sure finally by then they'll have some features that can drop and we can talk about. So see you then. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.